Welcome, Matt Main.
Yeah.
I appreciate you joining us, man. Look forward to spending this time as far as I'd love for selfishly, we've had some conversations as is late of last week, just expanding on your journey. You really had an insurance life, an insurance career, both yourself, your wife's family, like all these kinds of connections that have led you to so many vantage points within the industry. And so many top performing notes in your career and so many things that we can borrow from you. So one, for our team and for the listener, I want them to get to know you a little bit and shed light on kind of what has attracted you here and a little bit about what the future looks like. So how are you today, sir?
Wow, that's a big box to unpack right there.
There it is.
I'm great, man. How about yourself?
Man, I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. And here's the deal, guys. If you don't know, now you know, but Matt Main, God, we came across 6-7 years ago.
7 years ago. I can't even believe it's been that long, man. It feels like yesterday. I remember when I walked in here, it was just Matty Eck and Tori ripping in one room together. And then I came back maybe a few months later, and there was 4 of you. And then I came back a few months later, there was 8 of you.
Yeah.
And I came back like a year later, and it was like, God, there's 20 of these guys. What just happened? I remember I had a conversation with you. This always makes me laugh. I was like, hey, T.Y., I got a couple things I need to kind of chat with you about. And you're like, oh, well, we'll get that stuff from the Melbourne office. I was like, well, when the heck did you get a Melbourne office?
That's a really good place to start, is just you're at American Integrity and obviously our company rep and we develop a relationship. And I can say this, as far as just quickly became one of our most consistent, competent, and favorite relationship in the industry. And it wasn't, sometimes you have somebody that has a connection with one person, but you really did a good job of kind of developing relationships with a lot of our key people and a lot of our producers and both people on sales and service. So, by the way, just to go back to that, what was your vantage point of this place at that time? Do you remember a snapshot of like, this is my perception of what they're doing over at Urban Young then?
Wow, that's a great question, actually. So I recall, because I asked the now American Integrity Rep Lewis to send me a screenshot of my Salesforce notes from the first time I ever visited. At the very bottom of it says, keep an eye on these guys because they're going to be something.
Oh, that's cool.
And every time it was kind of like this game of, man, how many more people do you guys got this week?
Mm-hmm.
Or, hey, what are you guys into this week? Or, what else are you guys writing? And I think at one point you guys were the fastest growing, I think between you and maybe 1 or 2 other offices outside of the national writers. You guys were the fastest growing office we had as a carrier rep for I want to say for 2 years, like for 2 years. And we've been on trips together and we've had a really good time. But the perception for this office, and again, great question, is I've done nothing but had so much respect for what you guys have done as I've watched you grow, and I've watched you kind of have this mantra, and it's so ironic. Not ironic, but a little bit strange to me in the sense that I sat on the outside and really enjoyed watching that view from the outside. And now coming to the inside, man, you have no idea. It is so much cooler being here than it was even being there. And it was really cool there. And now being inside of it, you're like, man, this is just a whole nother level. I don't even know how to explain it to people. I try to capture it in words, and it just doesn't feel like it does it justice. I tell people that. I preface every single time, hey, look, I want to tell you something up front. I'm not going to do it justice. Mm-hmm. You've got to see it to believe it. And I think anybody in this office would probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
You ask any of these guys, and, after Summit specifically, I asked that question to a few of them and said, how does it feel? And they're like, man, there's something about being here, being inside of this group, being a part of something that feels like you can accomplish anything, that just changes the entire paradigm of maybe not just insurance, just business generally speaking, which I think is so cool. So perception-wise, I think you guys are just doing things that nobody else has done. I think you're doing it in a really cool way, and I think you're having a lot of fun doing it too. Which
we
yeah. Well, before I had joined, and now it's Now
well, it's so
great.
funny. It's like I know that's authentic, and man, I can't tell you how much it means to me for you to say those things, and all of us. But it's also, we'll have a meeting. It almost seems like weekly, especially when you first got here, and Matt will pull me aside and he'd be like, "I'm having a blast." And you're like, is he being serious? And he'd be like, no, seriously, like I'm having a blast. Yeah. And what's really cool is you have a lot to give to this place, which we're going to get to, is because you have a pedigree and an experience. And I always like to say, like, no experience is wasted, right? Like our time spent in other vantage points of the industry, different companies, all lends to the perspective that we hold today, if we allow it, right? And you have so much to give from your experience, right? All these things that you've learned in a past life, those skills all get to transfer. Those learnings all get to transfer, and we're the benefactor from that. But you've also coupled it with some cool humility where you've made some statements and comments to almost acknowledge that, hey, guys, I'm learning here. Like I'm not going to pretend to know it when I don't. I'm still learning here, and I'm still new here, and I'm still developing relationships and understanding the playbook and what's what. And you also just you're very smart. I mean, you're very smart. You know a lot about a lot. And
thanks.
When I think somebody gets to know you a little bit, you have clearly this boisterous personality that's very energetic and attractive as far as when you're in a room. But then once you get to know you better, you're a very caring person. You're also very intelligent and know a lot about a lot. So I just appreciate, with all those being said, you coming in with the humility and the coachability that you have so far. So I want to jump back to, how the heck did you get in insurance? I swear that like another 7, every time I talk to you about your career, it's like, dude, that 7 years was missing. I don't know that part of the story. So you go to FSU, you graduate, you move, and then you go do a job that, it's not for you. You come back to Orlando as a producer, bridge the gap to after that stint, a year and a half after college in a different industry. How did you get in insurance, and where did you start, and what did you do?
That's an awesome question. So I always say my mom's been in insurance for her entire lifetime, because she started in principal home office in Des Moines, Iowa, when she was 15 years old. So I take a lot from her and what I've done. But yeah, college, went up to DC, did estimator work for roadways, bridges, and large commercial products. Was working with the guys that built the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. Super great. I mean, just an unbelievable experience. I always say to people, man, if you really want to be good at insurance, learn construction, because you'll know everything there is to know about the industry as soon as you start understanding what the pieces are to build it are.
Managing risk, liability.
It's just, just be able to look at a building and know how it's built from the outside, just seeing the way on the, just stuff like that. There's like you said, there's no substitute for that experience, So I think bringing that to the job helps a ton. But came back, decided to work for a group, King Insurance, walked into commercial when I came back, was doing mostly group benefits, workers' comp, and small commercial policies, and then parlayed that into, again, with Accentria, which is Accentria, I think is maybe now one of the largest groups in Florida, because they did a bunch of buying and were a large commercial outfit, and did that for about 9 years. And I just didn't get to the ownership piece there, so it kind of frustrated me. So I ended up going to personal lines. I made the jump over to Liberty Mutual because they had the best training probably in the country. Went over there, trained with them, and was with Liberty for 5 years. Was a team lead, number 1 on the floor. I was top 10, 4 out of 5 years I was there. I was rookie of the year. And I'm trying to think if I was number 1 3 years, or if I was 1 or if I was 2. So it was 1 or 2 out of, I don't know, at one point I think it was 1,000 individuals that were in that office. Nationally, yeah.
So give me the idea of the volume, that what you were writing a month and a year when you were at your peak at Liberty.
Yeah, I kind of laugh. So let's see. When I was at my peak, I was writing 130 to 140 policies per month. And premium on an annual basis was somewhere between 3 and 5 million, give or take. Yeah,
just absolutely.
Just me grinding on a phone
all day. Phone stuck to your face.
I used to.
Like, you still have a little bit of phone.
It took me. I would say it took me about a year to not answer the phone. Hey, this is Matthew Main with Liberty Mutual Insurance. How can I help you today? Yeah, it took me. My family. I would answer the phone for my family like that. I still talk to those guys. They're amazing guys. A lot of the guys that I worked with at Liberty Mutual, amazing guys. Learned a ton there. Learned a lot about the business. Learned a lot about personal lines. Every state. I was licensed in all 50 states. Obviously, there are certain states that we just didn't write in that you can't write in. So you have to be a resident of those states in order to be able to write there. So obviously those states, Wyoming, Hawaii, Alaska. But again, it was just an amazing experience. I had an opportunity to write everything, personal lines all across the entire country. And I think that just is an experience that speaks for itself. I would say from there.
Real quick, what was that pace like? Talk to me about, and obviously the downsides of the model, the challenges of the model, it's understood. But when you came in to your day at Liberty, what could a producer within our walls borrow from that place or your experience or that particular vantage point? Because I just hear volume. Yeah,
that's, I used to teach the class for new incoming recruits. And the one thing that I always told them was, be consistent. No matter what that consistency looks like to you, be consistent. And that is, when you come in, just do the same things over and over. Even though it seems redundant, it's kind of like muscle memory. If you just do the same things and they're quality steps for what you do, I mean, my shift changed. So at Liberty, you could work all kinds of different shifts. You could work from 6 a.m. all the way till 10 at night, and then they had a Central Time team, and then they had a West Coast team. But when I was there, my favorite shift was to work actually at night. So work from 10 in the morning until almost 10 at night, so 9 o'clock. But I would be there pretty much all 5 days, sometimes on a weekend, just depending on where it was. But when I would get in, the first thing I would do, I get in 30 minutes early. First thing I do is I go through my email. I'd log anything that I missed from the day before. So if I couldn't, just to make sure that I was caught up. And I would reset every day. This is one of the things that they always taught us, is I would reset my voicemail every single day.
Old school.
I mean, that's just the things that they teach, is the way that you script it. It made so much sense.
I'm in meetings. I'm not in meetings. I'm on. Was that what you'd go
Yep,
with? Hey, today
always. I am available to you all day. If I miss your call, then I will call you right back as soon as I'm on a break. And it was. I mean, I think by my second or third year, I think I held the record for most callback binds of any agent that sat on that floor. I think I had one day where I bound 19 policies and only took one call.
Explain a callback bind.
So when you would get a call, you'd be in a queue, and you could be in any number of states, but let's say I get a call from, let's say somebody in Michigan. I'm just going to use that because Michigan was on the wall in there. Get a call from somebody in Michigan. They say, hey, go ahead and quote it. I would quote their home, their auto, umbrella, any other toys that they had. Obviously, it was just a matter of just getting through that call. And if they said, hey, I want to think about this, I'd say, I'd always obviously try to close them then, try to get everything done. Sure. But if I couldn't, obviously I'd just say, hey, listen, I'm going to be here tomorrow. You give me a call. I'm going to be here from, 10 to 10. Like, wow, you work ridiculous hours. I sure do. But that's important to me because I'm your direct personal agent going forward. So anything that you have going forward that deals with insurance, you call me, because no matter what it is, I guarantee I have an answer for you. So as soon as you say that to somebody, they automatically, they want to call you back because they want to find a way to prove you wrong in that instance. But if you know a lot about insurance, you're probably going to win that battle, and they're also going to call you back. So they would call me back. And even the people that, had been with me for years, this is going in a few years in, the people that I had talked on the phone when I was a rookie, first brand new on the phone, they would call me back 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. And they'd say, hey man, we bought a condo down in Florida. You think you can insure that for us? Hey, our kids going to college. Can you write their policy for us? Hey, we're buying a motor home, whatever the case was. Say, yeah, of course I can.
So a callback bind is, I've already talked to them once. They're calling a buy.
Yep.
And so I'm just fielding calls. I'm taking orders. Let me ask you also, multi-lines. Was it typical that they were calling about a specific product and you would have to sell the other lines, or were they calling about, hey, I want home, auto, and an umbrella reviewed?
Oh, yeah, no, that was always monoline.
Always monoline.
I mean, yeah, because Liberty Mutuals, the way that they marketed, their biggest marketing ploy was the credit union marketing. So they would partner with every single credit union. So if you called me these are the best calls that we would get as a credit union, because they'd automatically get a discount. So it would automatically get a rating discount. I'm just ballparking, I think 15%. It was a pretty big number. Mm-hmm. And as soon as they would call, he'd say, it's fantastic. We love that you partner with the credit union. So I'll go ahead and I'll quote everything for you, because the best price is obviously going to be the bundled price for you in savings today. Mm-hmm. So you would automatically start it off in their mindset. They're like, absolutely, this is the best price. He's going to tell me it's the best price. So that's the price I give them. So we would run through the auto. It was always the first, and the system was set up that way. And then you could literally take pretty much everything that they had, and you could just run it because it's unlike
similar information,
very similar information, and just basic information on the home to get a roundabout quote, and then you could shore it up, just so you knew that you were in the ballpark. Because I think that's what we all do is, hey, I want to just at least get the information so I get something to you. And as soon as you would get to it, you could literally, as you were reading those prices, you could legitimately do an umbrella quote with that. And we loved scripting for umbrellas. I think one of my favorite lines for umbrella was, and I heard this from one of the guys on the floor. He said, man, hey, for less than 30 minutes with an attorney, I can get you coverage for $1 million and cover all of your attorney's fees if you're ever sued.
Wow. I've never heard that.
And I'm telling you right now, that right there, that line probably sold more umbrella policy. I think I set a record 1 month. It was like 30 or something umbrella policies sold in 1 month.
Okay, guys, if you're listening, gals, if you're listening, use that. Play with that language because that is incredible because it makes them think through, one, how expensive attorneys are. Two, if I could just, that's next level. Very cool.
Yeah.
So you're multi-line in it, right? That's how you get to that volume. Right?
There's just no other way. I mean, even a lot of the guys would like, hey, I'm just going to do a numbers game, and that's fine.
Sure.
But I'm a talker, right? I mean, if you're trying to make a relationship, or if you're trying to build kind of rapport with somebody in, let's just call it 20 minutes or less. I mean, heck, they wanted, at one point they said, we want you to do it in 7 minutes or less, which I said, well, that's impossible because my call time is on average about 21 minutes and I'm the number one. So why would we change that? Right. But generally speaking, I would say, if you got 20 minutes to build rapport with somebody, first and foremost, you've just got to find some kind of generosity. How do we connect?
You're doing it anyway. Your commonality, your understanding their portfolio might as well approach multi-line.
For sure. I mean, and that's kind of that sales psychological game is, I'm almost going to hold what you were looking for. I'm going to hold it a little bit hostage because I know that I can get you more than what you were asking me for. And then I can position it to you so that it makes just a ton of sense because really at the end of the day, if you're looking at it as a whole, why would I want to save 15% or more? Why wouldn't I shoot for the more? Okay, well, I can save you 15% on your auto insurance, or hey, I can save you $50, but man, you're home, man, I can save you $300. I know you called me for the auto, but if we put these together and hey, great news, you're with a company like Liberty Mutual, A+ rated, highest rated in probably the entire country. And we pay claims better than any company. So at the end of the day, no matter who you're with, I can probably move you to something better. Oh, and by the way, that $300 savings, if I add the umbrella, and that gives you a 10% savings on both the home and the auto, that's only $267. And with the savings, it comes out to be only $85.
So what I hear, backtrack 3 minutes before we got into the tactics, is the consistency. You said, hey, regardless of what you do it consistently. It's like the Bruce Lee quote it makes me think of, right? You should be scared about the guy that practices the same kick 10,000 times rather than 10,000 different kicks one time.
Yeah, that's you nailed it, man. And that's something we try to perfect all the time. I still work on that. You still work on that sales psychology, both on the phone and in person, and what you want to say over and over and over again. It's so funny. I had a conversation with somebody the other day outside of Urban Young, one of the best sales guys I've ever seen. And any one of these guys over here will tell you the same thing. Yeah, they're really good. Well, why are they good? He said, man, because he just says the same thing every single time. But he does it 100 times, and he's figured out that that stuff really works. So, I always used to say in the huddles too, I used to say, hey, do something that makes you afraid today. Ask the question, ask it, present that umbrella policy, or, hey, do you have any toys? It's worth it for us to cover it, because if we're going to cover your liability, heck, we might as well find out what you have that's actually liable. So you're as best covered as possibly we can get you there. So I think that's one of the things too, is that, the unfortunate part is in some way, shape or form, the best salesmen I have ever met are 100% fearless. They are absolutely fearless. They don't care what anybody on the other line thinks about them. They don't care what's going to happen at the end of the day. Yes, no, maybe. It doesn't matter to them. They're going to ask the same thing because they know that it's a winning mantra. They know it is.
So interesting. I think about sports and I think about basketball naturally. It's just because I have a background in it. But you talk about the best shooters. You're trying to get to the spot. You're trying to get what you used to call it a happy place where not and less movement is the better, right? If I can get to the spot with less movement, I can develop a consistency. Here's the thing: never is there the same exact shot. It's always from different places, but you're trying to get to the same spot. So whether you're coming off a screen, whether you're coming off the dribble, it's always going to be a little bit different. There's always an adaptability of it. But if I've shot and I've gotten to that place with less movement thousands and thousands and thousands of times, my body and my mind are going to find a way that no matter what my footwork looks like or no matter what the defender's doing, I'm going to get to that spot. And I think about that in sales. Yeah. If you have your process, it's not that the process never changes or the person on the phone that never changes, but you get back to that spot somehow, some way.
That's right? It. Yeah. No, and great analogy, but it doesn't matter if, LeBron's defending you or I'm defending you. And I'm terrible at basketball, by the way. But it doesn't matter because you've hit that shot and you know that person doesn't even exist in front of you.
Sure.
It's just another shot, you know? And yeah, somebody, LeBron might get lucky once or twice against you. I don't know. He might.
Yeah, he might affect the conversion ratio a little bit.
Yeah. But, that's it. You're still going to take that shot because you know that there's a really good chance that you're going to make that shot.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And again, if we're getting with the sports analogies, some of the best players at the highest levels know what they do well and they do that well, right? And so there's also a clue there is what game are you in? What are you selling? What's your process? And go kick that tree with the same kick 10,000 times and then come back and learn a new kick. So if we fast forward, right, you got the experience in construction. You become a successful commercial producer for 9 years. You jump into personal lines. You go to the top at personal lines in a national company, and then the American Integrity journey starts. Right, you go on the outside sales side, territory representative, end up working your way all the way to one of their top producers, if not their top producer. Yeah. Walk me into kind of that 7 years before here.
Yeah, no, it's so let's see. Started with American Integrity 2017. Is it 17? I'm trying to.
Yeah, I think 17
16 or 17.
Right
I can't
before 2018. Whether the dates are off a little bit.
Yeah. So wanted to try my hand because I've recognized I really wanted to build a network that was very important to me. I read a really cool quote and it's stuck with me for years. I have no idea. I should look up who said this.
Is it wealthy people build networks?
That's
Everyone else looks for work?
Yeah, everybody looks for work, man. And it was me instead of looking for work. And I recall this, and my poor wife, she's the brunt of a lot of my enthusiasm. And she's great at shooting me down, which is awesome because it brings you, you're here. Sure. And but I would say, and I turned to her and I said, I think that's what I want. I'd really like to just start building a network, especially in this state. I mean, we grew up here. We know a lot of people already. Let's just expand this. And I'm good at insurance. I know it really well. So let's go ahead and build that network. So applied to American Integrity. I think I went through, I'm going to say 8 interviews with them. I think I interviewed with every single person that I worked with at that point. And started with them. And the first year, they gave me solo counties because I lived here. And at that time, solo wasn't a moniker yet. It didn't exist.
Yeah, it was actually an easier place to write business.
It was great, and I'll never forget. Because again, my wife also comes from an insurance background. Her parents, her sister, her cousin, her uncle. But I walked into her uncle's office, Dellinger Insurance down the street. Good plug. And he's like, man, we'd write with you guys, but you just started restricting roofs. And at the time, I didn't quite understand. I was like, that's a part of the process. Well, as I started to learn more, what I found was that being on the carrier side, even though you're just seeing one set of products, you're seeing this expanse of the marketplace. You're getting another side of it because you're able to look at carriers from a different lens. Instead of you sitting here with an agency and just seeing one agency, I see thousands, right? I've walked into thousands of agencies. I've talked to thousands of agency owners. I've talked with CSRs, producers, everybody. But at the same time, I've also talked to the head of Citizens, the head of the OIR, the head of different carrier groups. So you get these different perspectives that really change the way that you see things, but also it just gives you, like you said, a little bit more experience and a learning platform to just build on, and not just build your network, but also build your knowledge base in the sense that, man, this could really help in a way that I don't think people recognize. So one of the things, and I'll harken back to, when I first walked in, I got solo. Solo wasn't a thing. And I started.
And that stands for Seminole,
Orange Lake, and Osceola. Okay. And now it's, I think it's Solo Plus. It's Seminole, Orange Lake, Osceola, and you throw some Miami, Duval. You throw in some Marion County, Sumter County, Hillsborough. Yeah. It's everything. It's Central Florida. Yeah. I think it's most of Florida. Just at this point. Yeah. But when I started there, I started at 4% to goal.
Okay, so not even close.
Not even close.
You're basically zero.
I was at zero. And it was like that coming to Jesus moment. Started, I want to say I started in January of that year, and the coming to Jesus at the end of the year when I had made zero money. Like I was, living off of my salary, and coming from Liberty Mutual, being the top guy and making, pretty good dollars, thinking to myself like, man, this is going way worse.
And any sales gig where you're not performing is not typically going to be happy with what you're taking home.
Yeah, right? Just soul crushing. And and I think that's with any of us. I think that's when I started to get into that mindset of no matter what you put in front of me, I'm just going to overcome. And I had already had that in kind of a one-on-one mindset. But I also thought to myself, man, I really want to take that almost to the next level in the sense that I'm going to meet so many people that it's not going to matter whether or not they want to say yes or no. I'm just going to be so front of mind that they'll have to at least consider me as an option.
So from a philosophy standpoint, we always talk about sort, don't convince. And if you can go wide enough, you don't necessarily have to worry about the conversions because the numbers will take care of itself. It sounds similar. So was that a breakthrough moment for you, almost like a day of decision to say, man, I've been kind of going to see some of my favorite agents or yada, yada, and all of a sudden he goes, no, I'm going to canvas the counties where everyone's going to at least see me over and over and over. How did that look practically? Because I think a lot of people in marketing positions could borrow from that experience.
Yeah, that's a great point. God, physically, I think it was about 1,000 miles a week on my car. But yeah, I mean, I kind of go back to what, originally when I started here and we talk about the model, your A, B, C, those type of, I literally, this was the marketing strategy is you rank them tier 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Tier 4, hey man, are you going to do anything? Are you not? Is there potential? Yeah, there's not really potential. Okay, let's move past that, right? Like
let's no longer spend time.
Yeah, there's probably not going to be worth kind of my time. But really what I've found is that what I'm good at is finding potential. So if I've got an agent that I know is good and there's an opportunity for them to be not just good, but really good, but they're not performing. Okay, well, let's find out why. A lot of other people in that position would say, and I think this is what made me successful originally with American Integrity and continue to make me successful, is that I wanted to not just build the relationship, but I wanted to find ways to help you. What if I was sitting in your seat? What would help me the most? Do you just need an advocate? Do you just need somebody to walk you through it? I mean, is it as simple as just the systems? So I think that was one of the things, is that I was very good at finding potential. I didn't just lean on people. I wanted to find a way to take those people that I knew could be really good and lift them up. I think that was super important to me because, number one, I think that's one of my life missions, is to just to help and support others. I've always had that, just coming from the Midwest. My family's like that as well. And I grew up in a team-oriented household. We all played baseball. So trying to lift others up and play as a team, I think, is super important. But yeah, at American Integrity, I mean, the reason that I went the direction that I did and why I was so successful building it from practically zero to being number one in the most restricted areas. I mean, every year it was kind of this running joke when American Integrity is like, all right, well, what else are we going to restrict this quarter?
Right.
And is anybody else going to be restricted except Matt?
Where did you end up? Started 4% a goal at your peak. I mean, obviously the goals move. That's how that works. But can you give some perspective of all that progress once you started canvassing, going wide, having more consistency in your touches? Is there anything that sticks out as far as how much progress that was?
Yeah, how many times product told me to stop selling?
Sure.
Yeah, that's, you're doing something right when the guys that are creating this stuff is like, man, you're going too fast. You're selling too much. That's always kind of the goal in mind. But just numbers wise, I think I had almost an entire quarter where I was over 100 policies a day from my agents. I mean, it was, everybody was writing, and we were getting, it was at that point, at that time, records. You know, the company had just never seen it before. Yeah. And not to say it had never been done before, maybe once or twice somebody had written over 100 in a day. But again, I kind of harken back in the sense that I think the creative mindset helps a ton too, but just being hyper consistent with those people that and taking care of the people that take care of you. I mean, that's such a lost art these days, I feel like, in a lot of things that are sales. People want to make the sale and move on. Man, I want to make the sale, and I want you to know that I'm going to be here no matter what happens. I'm going to be the guy on the other end of the line, and I'm going to pick up that line whenever you call. And if I can't pick up the line, I'm going to make sure that I give you a call back as soon as I possibly can, because you're the person that's helping me to get better as well. So I think that's one of the things that I really kind of stressed is, taking care of those people that take care of me, people that write business, finding good potential. It's unbelievable how many times I would see other guys or girls, and just see them give up on somebody because they're like, they're never going to write anything. But can they?
And isn't that kind of the industry company rep kind of joke? Joe's, he's kind of, he's a sleepy agent, right? Well, we don't even know why we still, I don't know, like that's my perception of some of what happens behind the scenes, is that the sleepers or the people that aren't the big agents maybe get the brunt of being written off, when maybe with some resources, with some training, with some pouring into some of those that show potential, you could have some big upside on the other side of it.
Yeah, I don't think it takes a lot either. And I do agree with you. And that's the unfortunate running joke for the industry is, they're just not going to, and I hate to say it, man, if I would have had that mentality, we wouldn't be sitting here. You guys were two people writing 2 policies a week.
Yes.
But I recognized, I met Matt Ekberg first. I recognized immediately. That guy's a stud. That guy's fire. He probably he might be one of the best sales guys on a phone that I've ever met, even to me. And I was just a carrier rep, He would sell me on stuff all the time. I'm like, Matt, you know what? We're going to do this.
Another thing too is for all you referral source marketers, I had a story. We work with a lot of mortgage professionals, and there was a lady named Kristen Jameson who we met, and we were both in our infancy stages of our business, but she was just getting started and she was small. And we have a tendency to do the same thing to our mortgage and real estate people, to say, well, long story short, right? I think she did 13 closings that year, which as a mortgage person is not a lot, right? And then all of a sudden she starts getting ripping. And at the peak of her powers, I think she did 360 closings, and we got every single one of them, right? As far as the opportunity. And so you're just looking, and we grew with her. And the relationship to this day is really quality, but we can sometimes miss that. So there's that delicate balance of hey, this person's not worth spending time on because they just don't have the potential or the will or whatever it is. So I do have to get away from that. But man, the people that are right there that they have the want to, they have the potential, there's something there that they can become, your top sources.
Yeah. Greatness recognizes greatness. If you strive to make yourself better and you continually increase your game and you try to get better every single day, then you're going to recognize that in somebody else, and when you do, you're going to say to yourself, oh man, I want to be in that game. Yeah. I want to be with that person because I know they're going to be huge. Yeah. I've seen that countless times in this industry too. Yeah. Where, even somebody that, other people have written off, and then all of a sudden next year they're writing 300, 400, and you're like, whoa, what happened? You're like, well, somebody finally gave them a chance, and guess what? They actually performed because they got that one appointment. They got that one product. They've been doing the thing. Yeah. And by the way, shout out to American Integrity's leadership. I just remember from you to call it 2017 up until,
now this whole crisis that Florida went through that really started, a little bit during COVID, after COVID, and so on and so forth, is one, they did a really good job of creating the container to stay in front of the customer. And when I say the customer, meaning the agency force. They're going to have webinars. They're going to get out in front of things. They're going to talk about it. And you did an incredible job. This is actually one of the first things I noticed about you, the art of promotion. You would, almost like, dude, you got to be on this webinar. I need you on this webinar. Like in a way that really was like, this webinar is going to be so good. And guess what? It was good. And it was valuable. But there wasn't like, hey, by the way, let me send you an email and let me just hope you get on the webinar.
Yeah.
It's like, no, dude, I need you on here. Who's going to be on here? And then also the availability aspect, like you did do that. You did when I called. If you weren't able to answer, you would shoot me a note and let me know when you talk. But usually you would answer, call me back. That's simple too, that if you're a marketer, just that little thing can separate you from the rest.
It's number one. When we had new people start, I would tell them, I'd say, look, it's not hard. It's really not. But everybody makes it seem
simple,
like
not easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's simple. Just answer your phone. And if you can't answer your phone, call them back, and call them back as soon as you possibly can. Because you'll blow somebody's mind. You will blow somebody's mind. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times that I'd call somebody back and be like, man, you called me back. That was fast. I'd be like, well, yeah, I had an opening. You got 5 minutes. Let's rock. I mean, it's why not? Let's get after something. If there's something I can help you with, I want to get after it right away. I gotta agree with you, man. I gotta shout out to American Integrity. They have done an amazing job. I think when nobody else was willing to stand up, Bob Ritchie, I think he made it his personal mission to try to correct the wrongs in this industry. My hat goes off to him. I have told him personally that I think he's done amazing things. I think it was difficult seeing other carriers and other groups not participate. But at the end of the day, there was a lot of companies that were struggling as well. I mean, they may not even had the resources to do that. So much
unknown. Are we going to make it? It took, but I will say it. The number one word when I think about what American Integrity did during that time period was courage. Oh. It took courage. It took, bravery to be out leading front and having webinars to where the news is not good news. And hey, but you know what the message is? You know what though? We're going to be here.
Yeah.
So we're going to be the resource. We're going to be your go-to resource. And I thought that was really remarkable.
Man, I love you said that. And I just thought, this is coming also right in the middle of COVID. So COVID hits and there's no way for us to reach you on a one-to-one level. So we like
science project.
Yeah. Yes. It's like, hey, do you think this will work? What is Zoom again? Like, how do we do this?
And by the way, insurance agents, marketers, a lot of times you don't have good news.
Yeah.
More often than not, if you're doing your job and seeing people often, it's not always good news, but your ability to consistently show up, it says a lot about you, especially when you don't have good news. Anybody can answer the phone when you have a bonus check to hang out or you have a deal that is really inexpensive that you got done. But what about when you don't get the approval on the deal? What about when you don't have bonus? How do you show up in those moments? And I thought you were just incredibly consistent. So I want to be I want to transition. I honestly do mean that, and I've shared this with an internal. I learned a ton from you as a marketer and somebody in marketing and sales just because you were a representative that represented yourself in the way that you did. So whether you know that or not, or if I told you that before, I do genuinely
appreciate that, man. Yeah. Never told me that. That's very nice of you.
Yeah, man. And so bring me to Urban Young, man. What are you doing here? What are you excited about? If we could just take it home with just some nuggets of what you're going through to say, hey, what keeps you up at night as far as why you made this decision, and then ultimately, what you're excited about without getting into too much detail.
Man, lost storm wrap there. If it looks like I'm sweaty, it's because I am, because I'm fired up. Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. You guys, we sat down, guys, has to be August or September of this year, pre-summit. And you guys had approached me and said, hey, man, we're not really sure kind of what this is going to look like, but we know where we're headed. We know the ideas. And we had already talked about it previously in confidential manner. And so I knew the direction, and I have enough background in that to understand, like, if there's anybody going to accomplish this, it's definitely going to be you guys, and it's going to be ridiculous. So I said, man, if there's an opportunity for me to get on the space shuttle, I'm 100% in. Even if this thing explodes midair, it's going to be the dopest ride you have ever been on.
That's hilarious.
Because it is, man. I mean, we're flying to the moon. Like, you know, I love I keep saying this, and I sincerely mean it. We are, as a personal development company that does insurance, if you took the insurance away and I could work with you and this group, I don't care what it is. You give us the Doge and give us the Doge. We'll figure it out. You know, like, you know, I've got 60 leaders in this group that are absolutely, every day it blows my mind at how adept each individual in this office. I mean, I'm from top to bottom, you know, and I'm always astounded with you, with Brett, with Rod, and the leadership team. But you guys practice this constantly. But the way that we as a group, the way that we as a team promote that development of the person is the thing that I felt like I had been missing my entire career. And I think the thing that I am the most excited about, and this is perhaps the thing that I need to work on putting into better terms, better words, is I am so excited to share that, to share the personal development with people, to the point where I can't even contain myself. Like, I'm trying, you know, it's like you 1 foot in front of the other.
Sure.
Like, I want to put 12 feet out, you know,
we're
and
learning
like,
to crawl and walk.
Yeah,
but you want to sprint.
I just want to jump off the cliff, man. I just want to squirrel suit it off, you know? And it's hard. It's hard for somebody that's in sales and has been in sales for so long. And that mentality is to, whoa, pump the brakes a little bit. Because I get really excited about sharing the gift. Truly, I call it a gift because every day, you know, and again, my wife takes the brunt of this enthusiasm all the time. God bless her soul. She's a rock, man. Proverbs 31.
We love you, Nikki.
Yeah. Proverbs 31. But she, every day I'm like, oh, you gotta listen to what I learned today. You gotta listen to this. I was listening to this podcast and she's like, oh my God.
Oh gosh. Is that how every conversation starts?
Is this going to happen every time? I'm like, well, it might. It might be like that. Yeah. Because as we continue to expand this thing, I don't think that's going to get less. You know, so I think at the end of the day, you know, the things that I am excited about are the things that I have been missing in my sales career. And with a network of, all right, let me rewind just a little bit. With the amount of people that are in my network just in insurance, which again is thousands, and I mean thousands of people across this state and into other states, I think about the one commonality is that insurance isn't sexy. It's not. So at the end of the day, I want to show people a better version, a better way. Like I want to be the evangelist. You know, I want to promote this opportunity to not just make more money, but to make more money in insurance and possibly whatever you want, like whatever you want to do, like to create the amount of fearlessness that I think is necessary. So,
man, I just thought about something. Missionaries, not mercenaries. And there is a tendency as businesses get bigger, right? That's, you know, relative to whatever size and scope a business is that you become a mercenary and it's for the bottom dollar. And every decision flows through that lens. And it's not to say that businesses don't have tough decisions every single day, and there's certain requirements and decisions to be made to stay in business and continue to play the game. But at your heart, at your core, are you a missionary, meaning you're an evangelist for the mission, that you truly believe that the gift that you're referencing has personally touched, influenced, or changed you in a way that you want to go share that. And I am reminded and inspired by you coming on board and what you just said is I have a reminder to be a missionary, not a mercenary. And for that, I appreciate you very much.
No, it's a great example. Elon Musk is a great example of that too. I mean, recently, when he bought X, he bought it because he was such a firm believer in the First Amendment, right?
Right.
And everybody says, well, yeah, you overpaid for it.
Sure.
He says, but I have a vision. It doesn't matter what I paid for it. If I lose money, so be it. I want to make sure that the voice is heard. And I think that's important because now, he followed that mantra. And again, it's a great point, is that if it was just the bottom dollars, he would have never made that choice. But because he followed the mission and his vision, I think X was now, he bought it for $44 billion. I think it's now worth $200 billion.
Isn't that the irony? And so everyone who's listening, your business or your business within a business is not any different. If you choose to find what that mission is for you and lean into it, the money will come.
That's it.
The production will come. The value will come. People will follow you. People will want to line up, to be a part of it and just say, man, I just want a little bit of that. That's just my opinion and my belief that I just feel very strong because I've seen it.
Yeah. That's the energy, and that's the focus. Then that's the vision and the mission. My ability to share with people and to go out in this network and find a way to share this with people. I think there's a lot of people. I think there's more than a lot of people. I think there's a huge number that are starved for something like this and for the program, and they don't know where to go. They just they think they might have it, and the fact that we've kind of edified this, codified this, and we put it on paper, and you guys have done such an amazing job of that, is that it's remarkable to me that we could really have an opportunity to do that. I just think that's so cool. Man,
that's well said. And if there's something I heard on a podcast the other day, and I haven't filtered it whether I believe it wholeheartedly yet, but it was talking about market, product, team. What's the most important? And he was saying, well, I'll take market first because there has to be a demand for what we're giving the marketplace. And if that's the case, the team can build the product. And I feel like we're in a phase to where the marketplace, there's a demand for what you're referencing. And I'm very confident that we have the leaders and the team to build that. Yeah. And I look forward to doing it alongside you. And Matt, I'm glad you're here. We're better for it. And we could do this all day. But I just want to say thanks for sharing your gifts today, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, man. This is exciting. Sorry I went a little long.
Dude, you think I didn't know this was going to go long? I appreciate you, man.
Guy's a talker.
Guy's a talker. Class.
Yeah.
Till next time, ladies and gents. Appreciate you joining us.